Alright, Subaru just sent me some paperwork telling me they're going to ship me a BRZ sports car. A 6-speed manual instead of an automatic. Can't beat that. Oh, nice. Bright midlife crisis red. My favorite color. $31,455. Seems like a deal to me. And by the way, 4 months ago we did a review on the 2022 Toyota GR86, which is basically the same vehicle as the Subaru BRZ. We shared the same engine platform, just a few exterior parts to make a difference. If you want to watch that video, just go to the end and click. Okay, we're at our test facility. Let's open the door, roll this baby out. Nice looking rig, especially with this bright red paint. The base BRZ runs around $28,000. This one costs a bit more at $31,000 because it has more features. For example, you go from 17-inch wheels to these larger 18-inchers, as well as Michelin Performance summer tires. Some custom leather seats that are also heated. And we also get these steering responsive headlights that turn the same direction as the steering wheel, which is great for taking corners. In part 3 of the video, we're going to take these lights out and give them a thorough test, so don't go away. And anytime we get a vehicle, we always want to check and see if there's a spare tire. There's not, just a cheesy tire inflator kit under there. That's why we have my personal tire repair kit with a bunch of fixed flat and air pumps and all that jazz. Saved my butt lots of time, so I'll be carting this along. Under the hood is a Boxer 4-cylinder engine. The previous one used was not very powerful and not very quick. This has been upgraded to 228 horsepower at 7,000 RPM with a 7,500 RPM redline. Pretty high for a flat 4. 184 pounds-feet of torque at 3,700 RPM. Fuel economy is 21 to 30 mpg for the automatic transmission with an average of 25. If you get the 6-speed manual like we have, it drops to 20 to 27 mpg with 22 over average. We'll be taking this out in the real world to see what the true figures are, so bear with us. For what it's worth, this was delivered with 28.3 mpg on the mileage computer, but there was a lot of highway driving involved there. We'll reset this for our purposes. There you go, fresh start. So let's take a look at the cabin. We get a very large glove box, lots of room in there. Amazing for such a tiny car. Very simple climate controls, just 3 knobs and a few buttons. And here we have a button for turning off the traction control on the left and a track mode button for the right. And when you do that, it changes the gauge cluster. There's a lot of glare reflecting off the gauge cluster, but it's only on cameras. You really don't see it in person, so don't worry about that too much. And we get a Toyota design cruise control stock, which is where I like it. And one thing I definitely like is the manual emergency brake. I cannot stand electronic parking brakes. They're garbage. They can cause you all kinds of problems that I won't mention in the video. It'll be way too long. Bottom line is I just do not like electric parking brakes. I like manual parking brakes. And yes, this does take up some room. I get it. In the old days, they put them on the floor of the car, where you operate by your foot, which is actually better, but they just don't do that nowadays. A lot of people wouldn't be able to find it anyhow, but you can certainly find this. You especially need this with a manual transmission, that's for sure. You don't want the car rolling downhill. There are some things I do not like. Number one, the sun visors do not slide back and forth to block out the sun on the side windows. This is all you get, which is just totally stupid. How much trouble would it be to make these slide back and forth? None. They just don't want to do it. Considering it's going to be 114 degrees today, going to be a lot of sun coming through there making your face like a potato. Subaru, you need to do something about this. Maybe they just carried over from the Toyota design. And number two, these second row seats are worthless. There's no leg room, as you can see. Even if you put the seats totally forward, there's not much leg room. Good for monkeys and dogs and cats and groceries. That's about it. They do this for insurance purposes. And number 3, all this outside bodywork collects a lot of dirt or mud or snow, whatever. Just waiting to get on your pants. You need to keep that clean. Alright, part 1 of the video, show and tell is over. Part 2, we're going out and do some driving, and we'll start with the power steering, which is very good. Nice response, good feedback, good feel. No complaints here. And as we do in all my videos, let's take the speed humps around 15 miles per hour, see how the suspension performs on impact. Here comes bump number 1. Smooth enough. Number 2. And I just look at the speedometer, I was doing 21 miles per hour. Got away from me. Here's bump number 3. And the nasty one. Overall, I'd say for a small car like this, it was certainly more comfortable than I expected. The previous 4-cylinder engine in these vehicles was adequate, around 200 horsepower, but they weren't that quick and didn't like to rev. This is a far bigger improvement. No, the engine is not quiet at all. But you like hearing the engine if it's a sports car, right? Pretty good brakes, too. So far, we're getting 24 miles to the gallon in mixed commuting. Let's take this out on the highway and see if we can bump up the numbers. There we go. Reset. While the suspension performed quite well on speed bumps, it does provide a smooth ride. Unfortunately, when you're getting freeway speeds and a rough pavement on top of that, there's a lot of rumbling noises coming up through the system. Very little insulation under there. I'm hearing every thump and bump from these tires. But that's the price you have to pay if you want a lightweight sports car. It's only about 2,800 pounds. You want a light car that goes quick or a heavy car that doesn't? Well, in this case, we have a light car that goes quick, and that's just the price you pay. The noise is kind of annoying, but I guess you get used to it after a while. Just don't drive on rough pavement, I guess. Obviously, this can be annoying on long interstate trips with the lack of luggage capacity and interior room. Not too many people are going to be taking this on long interstate trips. This is more of a city car. At 75 miles per hour in 6th gear, we're pulling around 3,300 RPM. It's kind of high for a regular car, maybe not so much for a high-revving sports car. Maybe we need a 7-speed manual transmission instead of 6 for a taller overdrive. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Alright, there we go, 31.8 mpg on the freeway, which I think is slightly better than what was claimed. With the automatic transmission versions I've driven, you get about 2 or 3 more points. But this is more than acceptable. Oop, 31.7. While we're sitting at idle. Well, this is a sports car made for handling, so let's do some handling. We won't be worrying too much about fuel economy on this trip. This is the type of road where you can really enjoy a 6-speed manual transmission. With rear-wheel drive, 50-50 weight distribution, well, almost, and low center of gravity, this vehicle takes corners like a champ. This is a genuine sports car, not an imitator. If it only had 100 more horsepower, it'd really be cruising. But there's just not enough room under the hood. And I really like this redesigned engine, which really likes to rev. The previous one sounded like it was going to explode anytime it hit high RPM. Not a problem with this one. This BRZ has excellent brakes. Stops in a hurry and no fade at all. Not even getting hot. Doggone, the bar is closed again. Well, it is 3 o'clock in the morning. So what's my take on this BRZ after a week of driving? Well, a small car like this, I don't think I want to take it on a long interstate highway trip. As far as a sports car goes, it's hard to beat. It's good looking, quick, handles like a champ. Pretty good on gas. And the price of $28,000 to $31,000 is certainly a bargain. Plus you have some exclusiveness. They only make about $3,000 per year for the BRZ, around $2,000 for the Toyota 86 version. You won't see yourself coming or going. Overall, a very good value. So part 1 show and tell is over. Part 2 driving is over. We have a part 3 bonus section. Take this out in the dark, see how the headlights perform, do some night driving. Okay, it's dark enough. Let's check out these lights. And right now we got the low beams on. And now a bit brighter with the high beams. And the taillights and license plate cover. Emergency lights light up pretty good. I can barely see the fronts. I got the headlights on low beam. Not good at all. That's more like it with the headlights off. And from the rear. And the rear view camera gives a pretty good view on the screen. Looks a lot better in person than it does on my cheap handheld camera. And the gauge cluster lights up pretty good. It's adjustable for brightness. And there's the sport mode. As far as the rest of the interior, there's not much to see here. Pretty simple vehicle, not much to light up. But what does light up, lights up well. The cabin roof lights have a lot of power. Definitely illuminates the cabin, no doubt about that. If you watch my videos, I cannot stand auto dimming mirrors, especially if they don't have a disconnect switch, but here we get a simple manual system. On and off, flip of a switch. The way it should be in my book, but teach their own. Okay, getting to the headlights. Here we have a building 33 yards away. Not very high. Needs to be above the bushes. Not passing that test. Let's go to high beam. Much better. We'll take these out on the street and the back roads to see how this works. By the way, these are active headlights, meaning they turn the same direction as the steering wheel. Great for taking corners. This can be turned on or off in the computer program if you just want headlights that point in a straight line the whole time, which, why would you want that if you could have this? But you do have a choice. On the freeway, the high beams do a pretty good job of lighting up the road signs. Like so. Not so much on low beam, naturally. And here we have a dark, dingy street with street signs about a quarter mile away with the brights on, no problem. Go low beam. Cuts off around halfway. Obviously, there's not long-range lights. So let's take this on some backcountry roads and see what these headlights do in tight corners, among other environments. When you're on back roads, you're often going to have dips. And here it's not a problem with the brights, but yep, with the low beam, sometimes that can be an issue. As I mentioned earlier, this vehicle has the active headlight option, which means the beams turn the same direction as you're turning the steering wheel, which comes in very handy when you're taking corners like this, which is the intent to begin with. There's a lot of wildlife out here you don't want to hit, and this helps assist you to make sure you don't. Very nice feature to have if you do a lot of driving on mountain roads at night. Okay, here's the ultimate headlight test. If we can see the jail sign on the city jail, it passes. If not, it flunks. And with the brights on, we can barely see it. Low beam. We can see the floor. Okay, so what do I think about these headlights? High beams are fine. Going to low beam, of course, I find they're a bit too short and too low for my taste. But in all fairness, two things. First of all, we don't know if they're set to factory specs. They could be out of alignment. And if they are or not, it really doesn't matter, because I'm sure a mechanic could raise the elevation a bit and solve that problem. And if that's the case, then there's nothing to complain about. Besides, it's a great car, so I like it anyway. People have been asking me how the headlights on the BRZ compare to the headlights on the Toyota 86 version. Well, if you want to know, no problem, because we'll have a link for that video on the Toyota 86 headlights coming up. Just click and watch. And we also have a full road test video on the BRZ. We have a link for that too. So you're getting 3 videos for the price of 1. Free.